Hey guys, it's me, Sam Stein, managing editor at the Bulwark, and I'm joined by Will Sommer, author of the False Flag newsletter franchise. We're going to be talking about Mike Flynn, the chief purveyor of conspiracies, getting consumed by a conspiracy theory of his own. Will, let's start by just kind of laying out the kind of central role that Mike Flynn plays in this crazy universe that I don't want to say you inhabit it. You're like an anthropologist who is kind of figuring out. Yeah, exactly.
I'm like the nature photographer dressed as an elephant or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You've been staying there for years just to get the perfect shot. Let's talk about Flynn's role. Like, obviously, he's pushed a lot of the QAnon stuff. Some people think he's Q, but like, how did he get to this place, and what kind of role actually is it?
Sure. So Michael Flynn was, of course, a general. He was briefly Trump's national security advisor in the first term. And most importantly, for our purposes, he was indicted by Robert Mueller. And so because of that, he became a hero to the Trump grassroots and especially conspiracy theorists who thought that, anyone getting indicted by Robert Mueller was sort of a victim of the deep state and this hero. And so they positioned him as sort of like a martyr.
Okay, but how did he go from that to being so heavily involved in the QAnon conspiracy?
Sure. So, well, a lot of them thought that he came to believe that he was Q or maybe working with Q.
How does that happen?
Well, they said, who's Q?
I'm not asking for personal advice. I don't want to, just to be clear, I don't want to follow these footsteps. I'm very curious how someone ends up becoming so centralized in the QAnon conspiracy to the point where they're actually considered Q.
Yeah. So, I mean, they were looking around for someone who they could believe in. And they said, well, here's this guy who's already kind of into conspiracy theories. And they started to, then he started going to their conventions and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. That's two. And then he fits the mold as someone who could orchestrate a bunch of shit, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And he then, of course, pushed a lot of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so he starts promoting, his son got really into Pizzagate. He starts going to these conventions. He said that we should do a Myanmar style coup here, against liberals. He later claimed, oh no, I wasn't really that in favor of the coup, whatever. And so this is a guy who has been riding high and sort of remade himself after leaving government as like a hero to conspiracy theorists.
And then since Trump's reelection, what has he been up to?
Well, so, he's been on the sidelines as far as we know. Obviously he hasn't come back into government.
Was I right do I remember correctly that there's rumors that he might be part of the new administration at some point?
Yeah, I think there certainly are rumors about it, but, we haven't seen anything concrete. I don't think there's been any like serious reporting. At the same time, I wouldn't rule it out.
I'd be surprised. There are certain stoves you don't touch. All right. So here we have this guy. He's fairly active in the conspiracy theory community. His son is active in the community. He himself pushes conspiracy theories. And then what happens is he suddenly becomes embroiled in one. And in this case, the conspiracy is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that he had a role to play in essentially setting up the January 6th insurrection.
Right. So in this case, the conspiracy theory is, and we can broadly call it kind of like the Flynn Network, is that Michael Flynn and his brother Charles, who actually is a high-ranking general in the military, yes. And so there's this idea, basically Michael Flynn...
Do they not find that weird that his brother is like a high-ranking official and like he's out there like saying the most insane stuff possible? Is that not creating... I feel like that would create some conflicts or some problems for the brother, but maybe Mike Flynn doesn't worry.
Yeah, we don't know what his brother thinks of Michael. Maybe
I have a brother. I love my brother. And if he went crazy down rabbit holes, I would not disown him, but I would find it a little bit uncomfortable.
You might say, hey, cut me a break here.
Sign offline. Put down the phone. All right. Sorry. Back to the point. So Mike Flynn, what? He's supposed to be involved in January 6th. Why?
Yeah. So, this is kind of, there's like a lot of dualities here. There's a lot of dualities here. On one hand, they think January 6th was good, but also they think Michael Flynn set it up and that's bad to entrap Trump people. So, there's kind of like a lot of
why, under this conspiracy, why would Michael Flynn do that?
Well, because they think, he teamed up with basically there are a lot of factions in QAnon world, I guess. I guess.
Did I just stump you? I think I just stumped Will?
Wow. So there are a lot of factions.
We've hit the end of Will's ability to explain the conspiracies. So wait, Michael Flynn facilitated January 6th because he wanted to set up these Trumpers and get them in trouble with law enforcement.
Yes.
But we don't know why he would do that.
Well, basically, the idea is that he's still working for the deep state, that he was sort of what you might say he was sheep dipped, right? And so that means that
I don't know what that means.
It basically means that they kind of gave him this cover identity as this conspiracy theory hero, so that he could lead all these right wingers, these Trump supporters, unwittingly.
That's a fairly long con, isn't it? That's like a 4-year con that he ran to get to this point.
It is. I mean, basically a lot of this dates back to Michael Flynn's feud with these people called In the Matrix and another gentleman named Shady Groove. And these gentlemen, they used to be buddy QAnon people with him. They had a falling out. It's really kind of complex and boring, frankly. It's kind of like internal QAnon drama. But basically, as a result, they have turned on him. And so now, cut to this month, where Michael Flynn, this gentleman named Earl Matthews, has been nominated to be the Pentagon's general counsel. So like the top lawyer at the Pentagon. But he has beef with the Flynn family going back to January 6th, because basically he was working for the National Guard in DC. He felt that Charles Flynn, the brother, kind of threw the National Guard under the bus and said, they were too late to get to January 6th to stop it. And so from this, a lot of conspiracy theories have grown, criticizing the Flynn family and saying, well, maybe Michael Flynn and his brother caused this to happen. And this guy who's kind of waging his own internal military feud is providing grist for that.
Well, what I found most interesting about Earl Matthews, I suppose, was that he's awaiting confirmation to a post, and he's out there just doing all this crazy shit.
Yeah, so this is funny. So his criticism of Flynn was picked up by QAnon people who now hate Flynn, and they made a rap about it where it's like, Earl's here, he's so snide. The Flynn Network has nothing to hide. Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, we're gonna play.
People might enjoy it.
Yeah, let's play.
There's a reason, they duck and they weave. Flynn Network shook, can't let you believe. Earl Matthews' name, they won't let it shine. But the truth's breaking free, it's a matter of time. Reasons they hide, reasons they lie. Patriots or posers, let's look in their eyes.
All right, so there's the rap.
So he reposts that. He reposts a QAnon video about, Flynn's panicking because Earl's in charge. This guy is otherwise presents as like a pretty like straightforward military guy, but he's
he's up for a post. Like, usually people are just like, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to like get into the post. My career's on the line. I don't want to maybe gamble with it by going online and spouting nonsense, but not Earl. Earl's just out there.
No, he's really, and this is the world we live in, I think, is the broader point, is that like you have these we already saw, like, for example, like Laura Loomer purge the National Security Council, and now we see this guy who's trying to get confirmed, and he's saying, Michael Flynn standing in my way, and also here's a rap about how cool I am.
So does Flynn see the irony at all in the fact that he's been pushing conspiracies and now is being consumed by one?
Flynn is absolutely blowing his lid over this. I mean, he is tweeting. He's like, and because he's kind of an older guy, he's using this kind of weird terminology. He said, me and my family are tired of being a pincushion for the mob and all this. And so there is this irony that he was like Mr. Conspiracy Theory, and now he's, the victim of one. But I don't think he has a sense of humor about it.
No, probably not. All right, well, we'll be watching to see what he does with this, and maybe they'll just eat each other. And I'm very curious to see if Earl Matthews ends up at the Pentagon, so keep us posted on that. Will Sommer, thanks so much. Really appreciate this update on the weirdest part of our politics, as always. Subscribe to the feed, and we will catch you later.
Hey, YouTube fam, if you want to support the Bulwark, the best way to do it is by becoming a YouTube Bulwark Plus member. The Bulwark is truly independent. We have no corporate overlords. We're not settling any dumb lawsuits with Trump. By joining, you help support our work, and you can get a bunch of perks right here on this platform. Ad-free content, bonus videos, live streams, and some emojis of me, which I guess some people want. So come join, come hang out, become a Bulwark YouTube Plus member, and I'll be seeing you in the comments. So behave.